Okay, I want to spend a couple of minutes now and talk about the quirks of the max length attribute. The max length attribute might seem really simple. It's like, okay, just make sure that your field is not longer than the max length. But there's more to it than first meets the eye. So let's first start with the challenge. So the text area here has a default size of 64 characters, so 64 characters, and it has a max length of 32. So take a minute and tell me what would happen if I hit submit right now. Okay, time's up. I hit submit, the form is submitted. Ooh, what black magic is this? It says it's maximum 32, but it's allowing me to submit something that's over 64 characters. Well, what's happening is it's following the standards. The standard says that you only do constraint validation if its dirty flag is true, i.e. it has been changed. So if I go back here and I remove a character, so now I've dirtied the field and I try to submit, it doesn't work. So this is one way in which max length is broken. Or rather, it's not what you'd expect. Now, this is a change that I've made to Firefox where you could paste something that's longer than the max length. So this is a text area with max length of 32. So I can take this 64 character string and I can paste it here. And I can hit submit. And it says, please shorten this. You're currently using longer. But this is fine. Like, there is nothing wrong with pasting something that's longer. It's totally compliant with the standard. Okay, I want to get back to that in a second. But first I want to cover another issue with max length. Yeah, I should have planned this video. So let's just also, this is something I really like. So you can choose any field and then say show in console, and Firefox shows you in the console. Now you can mess with it in the console. So this is the field, temp0. So let's look at temp0's value. So temp0 has a value of something. I don't care about the actual value. It is a length of 64. Cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the value in script. So I'm going to set it to a bunch phase. This is 56. 56 is longer than 32, so it's over the max length, and I have made the change. Now, take a second and tell me what would happen if I hit submit now. Bam, it works. Again, what the hell? So again, going back to the standard says the value is last changed by user. That's the only time the constraint validation is run. And what we did here was we changed it using script. And script changes don't count. So I've just shown you two ways in which max length is broken, I should say. But it's still standard, but it's still like it's not what you'd expect. Now, let's go back to what I mentioned earlier about pasting something longer than max length. So this was introduced because people use password managers. I use a password manager, and sometimes people on websites have max length in their password fields, and passwords are then truncated, which is stupid. What you'd rather have is that you're able to paste something that's longer, and then when you try to submit, it tells you, hey, your password is longer, please shorten it. So you can go to the bug to find out more about why we did this and how we did this. But there was a regression 20 years ago where they showed that the change that I made actually broke something. So I'm going to show you what happened. So I go back to the field. I take this, I paste it here. I say submit, doesn't work. Cool, this is what's expected. This is a dirtied field. It was changed by user action. I pasted something. But if I reload the page, so this is just a regular reload, and I hit submit, it miraculously works. This is bad. So this is not in the spec. So this is actually a deviation from the spec, and this is an actual bug. So what's happening under the hood is, actually, before I tell you what's happening under the hood, let me show that this reproduce this with the input field as well. So this is an input type text field. Submit doesn't work. Reload, resubmit works. This is a problem. So I'm now going to talk about how this works and how we're going to fix it. So when you paste something into a field and reload, excuse me, when you, that's bad. Okay, so I have something in a field. This is a farm. You know, I go on some website, I half fill a farm, and then I'm like, I hit reload because by accident or whatever, the farm persists. The way it works is when you hit reload, it first stores the farm, so it stores the state of this text field, and then when the page is loaded back again, it restores the state. Now, in the store and restore, it keeps track of the content of the field. Yeah, you can see that. And it also keeps track of some metadata, like it keeps track of whether the field has been dirtied, right? Like, uh, but what it doesn't keep track of is whether the last change was done by a human being or a script. So as I showed you, if the last change was done by a script, then max length validation isn't done. But if the last change was made by a user, that's only when max length validation is done. So the way we fix this is persisting that state. So what we do is we keep track of whether the last change was made by a user when we store state, and then when we restore state. So we want to make sure that when we restore it, we keep track of whether it was changed by user, and then we can fix this. Cool. So this was not a bug before I fixed this issue, because before I fixed this issue in classic Firefox, you cannot paste longer than the max length. So your input would always be validated. Like if it was invalid, uh, you wouldn't have an invalid thing when you refresh. So you wouldn't have to keep track of this. But now that you do this, this is a problem. Cool. I hope you gained something from this about both how max length works and how some browser stuff works.